Hello everyone. In this video, we will be discussing about the purchasing strategy and its link with the overall business strategy. In particular, we will look at understanding the strategic role of the purchasing, as well as we'll see how we can build up purchasing as a strategic tool, also building up a portfolio of supplier relationships. Let's enter into our first point, starting from what is commonly heard, that strategy is entering into purchasing and strategic purchasing is becoming more and more common because of the relevance of its impact on cost, because of the fact that it involved sourcing often involved a very widespread geographical location. But let's look at how the strategic management process can be linked with purchasing. First of all, there are strategic decisions in terms of what we should outsource and what we should insource or keep in-house. This is basically a make or buy decision, which may have very significant impact. Then we need to have a clear picture of the purchasing spend and distinguish between what is a commodity and what is a more critical material or component. Then we should have in mind that our supply base, it's a resource. It could be a very important competitive resource. Therefore, we should invest in our supply base. And this means also developing supplier relationships, different kind of supplier relationships. And this supplier relationship may be targeted towards integrating our supplier in our product development process, as well as integrating them in our order fulfillment delivery. So in one case, in the product development, in the other case, in the operational planning. In both cases, exchanging ideas with suppliers can improve their performance. The circle closes with a strategic approach to cost. So we should do a strategic cost management, remembering, as we said earlier, that the value of the purchasing can be up to 60-80%. Therefore, surely it has got a very relevant impact. But designing the strategy is not all. In fact, we should go towards implementation and therefore looking at the enabling processes. Enabling processes that start from the strategy and the plans and then move and touches the organization, the IT, the information system support that the purchasing function has got, as well as the people that are working there. So the HR part and the training of our buyers. All this in a context where a global supply base is more and more common, as well as the purchasing performance, the measurement of the purchasing functions are becoming much more articulated. In order to design a purchasing strategy, the key reference point is the so-called Kralitsch matrix. It's a supply relationship matrix that is based on two main variables. One, it's a purchasing impact on the bottom line. This matrix, first of all, want to distinguish between different items and see the different strategies that I should put in place when I'm purchasing these items. So the first variable, as I said earlier, is purchasing impact on the bottom line, which means that I should look at that item and see how relevant it is, how much it weighs on the total cost of our finished product or service. If it's high, it's different whether it is low. And the second variable is related to supply risk. The supply risk means how difficult it is to procure, is to source a certain component or a certain service. If it's commonly available on the market, the supply risk is very low. If it's difficult to be sourced, or if there are just a few suppliers, the supply risk is high. Putting together these two variables, we've got a 2x2 matrix, and based on that, we can move from the bottom left corner, where both the impact on the bottom line and the supply risk are low, and in this part we've got routine products, very easy to be sourced and not so important, non-critical items, I would say. Opposite, so up and on the right hand corner, we've got the strategic products that are both critical in terms of supply risk and critical in terms of having a high impact on the company bottom line. In there, they are strategic products, and I want to develop partnerships with my supplier in order to be safe on that side. The other two, in one case where the impact on the bottom line is high, we've got the leverage products that I should manage through a competitive bidding in order to try and squeeze my supplier. If I'm reducing the purchasing price, I can make a significant impact on the bottom line. And if the supplier will quit, I do have others that can take his or her place. Differently, if we manage items where the supply risk is very high, there my basic strategy should be secure supply and search for alternatives. I'm not so much interested in a tough negotiation on price, because in any case the impact on the bottom line will be low. I'm very much concerned about enlarging the alternatives that I do have, and with existing one, try and establish a good relationship so that I don't put at risk the flow of the supplies. So these are four very different supplier strategies that are very useful in try to leverage our position to the maximum when we can, or establish a partnership to the maximum when it's required, what's got advantage. This approach can be even further. So these four basic supplier strategy can be enriched, also taking into account the view of the supplier. Sometimes the view of the supplier will be not very relevant because the power balance is on our side as a buyer, but sometimes it will be very relevant because the supplier can be stronger than us. A wide range of suppliers can be stronger than us. If we want to put together the buyer's view and the supplier view, we can, let's say, enrich this matrix, moving towards what is called the Dutch windmill. The Dutch windmill takes into account both perspectives at the same time. The buyer's perspective with its 4 basic strategies, which are routine and strategic partnership, and leverage and managing the bottlenecks on the other side, with the view of the supplier. Identifying for each of these basic strategies what are the core elements. Well, for instance, with a routine, of course, it will be, well, maintain a strong position. With a strategic as ensuring a good match between the 2 parties. The core part, as well as possible development that could be in enlarging the customer base or deepening the supplier cooperation. But also there will be some points of attention, both points that I can exploit, as well as points that can be painful. So in one case to be exploited, in the other case to be managed and possibly avoided. This means that supplier relationships needs to be set in terms of a portfolio, so taking into account a wide variety of options.